Good day everybody and welcome to the Sim channel. So Fanatec has just released the new Club Sport magnetic pedal module, and for all of you interested in this product, you've come to the right place. In this video, we're not only reviewing the MPM, but we're also having a good look at two of the most interesting alternatives, Fanatec's own Podium advanced pedal module, as well as a more affordable 3D printed magnetic shifter mod by MB Studio. You'll find links to all three of these products in the description below. Now, I have reviewed the MB Studio Shifter mod on this channel before, link below, but I felt that with the release of the new Club Sport MPM, it's worth revisiting that product in a direct comparison. So if you're in the market for a magnetic pedal shift solution for your Fanatec rims, make sure you stick around to the end of this video to find out which of these options is the right one for you. Let's get this one out of the way first. You'll get the 3D printed magnetic shifter mod for $20 or roughly 18 euros, plus about $8 to $9 for shipping anywhere in the world. So let's call that about 30 bucks give or take. The Club Sport MPM goes for 100 euros and the Podium APM will set you back 180 euros. Obviously that's quite a range in price between the three, so let's see what we get with each of these products. Starting with the smallest package here, the 3D printed shifter mod consists of plastic pieces with glued-in magnets that are screwed onto the existing Fanatec pedal shifters. As such, they add a fair bit of initial resistance from the magnet, but leave everything else in place. They come in slightly different versions for the Fanatec F1 rims, BMW GT2 rim, Porsche 918, and the Universal Hub. If you have any questions about compatibility with your specific rim or shifter, my advice would be to get in touch with MB Studio directly on their Facebook page, linked also in the description below. Next up, the new Club Sport magnetic pedal module replaces the entire shifter that's on your rim. It consists of a CNC machined aluminum housing and shifter arm, a magnet on top, a mechanical switch delivering the signal to the wheel, and of course the carbon fiber pedals. Two versions of pedals come with a package, one for smaller rims like Fanatec's Formula line and one for larger rims of about 30 centimeters and up, as well as a bunch of spacers, bolts and stuff to fine-tune the position of the pedals. Overall, in terms of materials and build quality, don't be fooled by Fanatec's Club Sport labeling, the MPM is every bit as solid and well made as the Podium shifters. Note that the forged carbon that you see on my unit here is the one that comes with a special edition 2020 Formula rim. Bought by itself, the MPM comes with a more standard looking carbon weave similar to the pedals on the APM. The main differentiator between the Club Sport and Podium shifters is thus the feature set. In addition to the main shifters, the Podium APM comes with a second, smaller shifter-like lever that can be used to trigger DRS, KERS, or any other function that you choose to map to it. On top of that, or rather below the other two pedals, there are spring-based analog clutch levers which can also be configured as a handbrake or even as gas and throttle. The materials used here are the same as on the Club Sport unit, so we have solid CNC machined aluminum for the housing and shifter arms and carbon fiber pedals. The pedals, of course, come in two different sizes for smaller and larger rims, just like the MPM. With regards to compatibility for both the Fanatec shifter modules, please have a look at the product pages on the Fanatec website. Just scroll down to the very bottom of the page and you will find a compatibility list for both of these products. Now, the weight of these units has some significance when it comes to force feedback. A greater mass needs more force to be accelerated, and thus as you increase the weight, the fidelity of the force feedback is reduced slightly. That being said, it also depends on how far from the rotational axis the weight is located. These pedal shift solutions all sit fairly close to the steering axis, so the issue is not as pronounced as the numbers may suggest, but it could be worth keeping in mind if you're using a belt-driven wheelbase such as the CSL or Club Sport line, and you feel like the fidelity is already at the lower end with your particular rim. As you can see though, the differences in weight aren't dramatic, so don't put too much weight on this aspect. Okay, so let's get to the most important part of this review, and that is how these different shifters feel and how they perform in practice. On a haptic level, there are about 4 main metrics that differentiate magnetic shifters. These are the comfort of grabbing the wheel rim and pedal, the actuation force, the travel or throw of the pedals until you hit the end stop, and the dampening of said end stop. Another important thing to keep an eye on in practice is the propensity to miss shift, This depends primarily on the travel or gap between the resting position of the pedal and the position in which the electrical switch is actuated, that then tells the game, hey, I made a shift. So despite being pretty simple in their functionality, different pedal shifters can in use feel quite different from one another. Starting with the MB Studio Shifter mod on the Formula Rim then, the comfort of holding and using it is actually pretty good. In the standard mounting position, the shifter pedal is very close to the rim and the outer end of the pedal is rather far from the outer edge of the rim. There's not enough space to put your fingers between the rim and the pedals, and while this may sound unusual, in practice it works surprisingly well. I've never had any issues holding the wheel firmly even when using 20 Nm of torque on the DD1. Now, you can turn the pedals around to get more space between them and the rim, but it becomes a bit more difficult to install the mod in this configuration, and in my opinion it just feels better the standard way. So let's talk about the haptic sensation of shifting with this unit. In short, it's very satisfying. The travel of 7mm at the long end of the pedal is pretty long, some might actually say it's ideal, and due to the short lever arm, the magnet has a good amount of strength. The mechanism isn't dampened, so each shift comes with a rather pronounced clack clack. Ah yeah, just holding the wheel and clicking away on these pedals is pretty addictive. Miss shifts are greatly reduced with the added magnet, I'd say it by about a factor of 10 compared to the stock non-magnetic shifter, but they can still happen since there's a bit of a gap between the pedal's resting position and the point where it actuates the switch. Paired with a universal hub for Xbox, a 32cm rim and the larger pedals installed, the default position of the pedals is unchanged from the stock shifter. That means it's farther away from the rim, but still very comfortable to hold. The lever arm is about twice as long compared to the one for smaller rims, with the effect that the throw of the pedal is doubled and the force needed to get it off the magnet is cut in half. The longer throw isn't really an issue, but it's certainly longer than it needs to be, and it takes away a bit from the enjoyment of clicking away on it. The reduced actuation force makes it easier to miss a shift, though it's still a significant improvement over the stock non-magnetic shifter. There's nothing the mod could do about the throw, but my recommendation to MB Studio would be to use stronger magnets here. So overall then, the MB Studio Shifter mod feels absolutely excellent on smaller rims and still improves things a lot on larger rims. Quick reminder at this point, if you like hardware reviews like this, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell. Next up, the Club Sport pedal module. In the default configuration with a pedal plate for small diameter wheels, the pedal sits quite far from the rim, and it's also a bit further out than the old stock shifter module. Holding the rim and shifting are both fairly comfortable, but I'd still prefer the pedals a bit closer to the rim and less far out. Now, they do come with spacers that let you bring them 5mm closer to the rim, but then you have to mount the pedals on the inside of the arm, which makes it very awkward to use and doesn't help at all, as you can see here. But the default position isn't actually so bad either. So let's move on to the haptic sensation of shifting. The actuation force feels marginally stronger than on the MB Studio mod, and I'd say it's pretty much perfect. The throw is quite short though, in fact it's only half of what it is on the stock shifters, and it's dampened by little rubber pieces at the end stops. As a result, shifting is rather silent on these, and while it does feel really good and actually quite premium, ultimately I don't find shifting with this module to be as satisfying as with the MB Studio mod. An aspect where the Club Sport MPM undeniably shines is miss shifts. It's virtually impossible to release the arm off of the magnet without actuating the electrical switch, so miss shifts are simply no longer happening with this unit. On larger rims then, you'll want to use the larger pedals that come in the box, and with those the Club Sport MPM is subject to the same laws of physics as the MB Studio mod. Longer arm means longer throw and reduced actuation force. While the extra throw is certainly welcome, I'd prefer the magnets to be a little stronger in this configuration. To be fair though, just putting stronger magnets in might make them too strong for the Formula style pedals, so this is not an easy feat. To keep the actuation force and throw constant for different sizes of steering wheels, the only way I could think of would be to move the entire mechanism in and out, and that would probably bring its own challenges with it. Overall then, I'd say the Club Sport magnetic pedal module feels pretty good on both smaller and larger rims, but could benefit from an increased throw and reduced or removed dampening. Finally, the Podium Advanced Pedal Module's shift pedal feels virtually identical to the Clubsport MPM, so everything I said about the MPM's shift mechanism also applies to the APM. The main difference between the two are the two additional pedals on each side, which make it quite a bit beefier. With regards to the comfort of holding it, the additional pedals don't necessarily help, but then again you can't really do much about that if you want the functionality. So let's quickly discuss how the additional pedals feel. The clutch pedal has a linear spring actuation mechanism with Hall sensors for precise and maintenance-free readout of the pedal position. To me, this mechanism feels just fine, but could do with a little more progression over the travel range. A stronger spring with less preload in the resting position could do the trick here. There is no bite point or anything like that on this mechanism, but I'm not sure how clutch pedals feel on real F1 cars, so I'll give it a pass. The additional pedals on top feel virtually identical to the main shifters, except with the shorter GT style pedal plates, the ones that you would use to put on a larger rims. On these, the lever arm is quite short, which results in a shorter throw but higher actuation force. So, to give you an even better impression of these shifters, I recorded these sound bites with a proper condenser microphone, actually the one I'm using right here. So yeah, please enjoy, and I'll be right back with a verdict. Alright, so here we are with the verdict. I summarized all that I said before for you in these two tables here, the left one being a bit more objective and the one on the right showing you my personal ratings. Alright, so which one of these should you buy then? Due to the price tag and weight, I'd say the Podium APM is really only for those who want the additional functionality of analog clutch pedals, or those who are in desperate need of 2 extra buttons. If those are not a major concern for you, go with one of the other options. Now, between the Clubsport MPM and the 3D printed MB Studio mod, it's an interesting battle. The MB Studio mod is a sizable improvement of Fanatec's non-magnetic shifters, especially for the small formula rims. They give you the most satisfying shift feel out of the three, and in my opinion also the most comfortable shifter position. For the price, you can't really go wrong on these. However, they're not entirely without flaws. For larger rims, the magnet is a bit on the weak side in my opinion, and you may still encounter the occasional misshift. The Clubsport MPM play in a different league in terms of material choice and build quality, and should be the more durable product in the long run. They also completely eliminate misshifts. And while not quite as satisfying as MB Studio's solution, it is still quite joyful to click away on them. So if you're willing to spend $100 on pedal shifters, I think the new Clubsport magnetic pedal module really delivers for the money. And so we're getting to the end of this video. I really hope this comparison helps you decide which of these pedal shifters you want to go with. I also put quite some work into this, so if you want to reward the effort and you want to see more hardware reviews like this in the future, please hit like, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. And with that, have a fantastic day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.